The changes facing the Church of Scotland have been accelerated and accentuated and made all the more urgent over these last few months as we continue to cope with a worldwide pandemic. Life has not been easy for anyone. Through it all, the work of the Faith Impact Forum has carried on. We have continued the Church's accompaniment with partners throughout the world. We have spoken out on issues that affect the Church, society, and the planet. We have listened to the voices of those in greatest need, both within and beyond these shores. We have kept updates going and met with presbytery representatives, and we found the courage to respond to what we've heard where at all possible, seeking the justice and peace that Christ calls us to pursue. At a time when it would have been so easy to turn inwards and look to us and ours, we have held to a Christ commitment to look outwards, to recognise who are our neighbours, and we have found in that wider perspective the inspiration and the hope that we need for these days, and even a sense of excitement. But then why should we be surprised by that? The time that Jesus spent with his disciples worshipping and teaching and building relationships was balanced out by the time and energy he put in to reaching out to those beyond that group. Jesus went out of his way to meet the most isolated, to meet the most misunderstood and the most vulnerable. And he offered them, along with his disciples, help and welcome and love and challenge and liberating friendship. Jesus' life sets the parameters for what we do, which is why we can never afford to lose sight of who and what are beyond us and ours. Jesus did not come into this world for a few only. He came into this world that all might be saved, all might know they're loved, and all might be set free. That call has led to the Forum framing its work around the concept of a just and green future, where everything is seen through the lens of God's love for the world in its entirety. The vision is of a society and a world in which every person is valued and respected, and where the planet too is seen as precious and to be protected. Current reality, however, paints a very different picture, one in which some are deemed more valuable than others. The gap between those who have and those who don't have, both within and beyond the UK, has grown ever wider. Because of COVID-19, yes, and for a myriad of other reasons. Right now, Lebanon is much in my thoughts after a conversation with Rola Sleeman in Tripoli. Political instability there has led to, among other things, nightmarish inflation. I mean, imagine buying your niece a birthday present and not knowing how much it will cost until the day it arrives and the delivery man makes a phone call on your doorstep to check the exchange rate. Imagine half of the population living below the poverty line and a healthcare system in crisis with no end in sight. But think too of the people of Myanmar and of people in so many other parts of the world coping with a mountain of challenges that most of us could never imagine. Thinking of within these shores, where our resources are spent reveals where our priorities lie. The UK and Scottish governments have increased financial help to some of those in greatest need. But it is also true that the UK government has chosen this moment to commit to building up an even greater stock of nuclear warheads. That is, while the foreign aid budget is cut. It's while food banks increase and people struggle to pay rent and bills. And it's while worry about work and school and physical and mental health reach epidemic proportions. This concern over the reality for too many is why we have joined the Reset the Debt campaign, calling for the government to establish a COVID Jubilee Fund to help families struggling to pay household debt amassed due to the COVID pandemic. Looking beyond the UK, the wider picture is every bit as sobering. As this country holds on to far more doses of the vaccine than we could ever possibly need, other nations have far too few, which means that no one is safe. We are hearing of stories of the devastating consequences of successive waves of COVID-19 from our partners in India, Malawi, Nepal, Palestine, to name but a few. Vaccines need to be universally available. Let's see the UK, along with the G7, leading the way in supporting a worldwide vaccine rollout. Following the Scottish Parliament elections, congregations and communities need to continue to engage with our MSPs to wrestle with the important issues facing communities and our nation at this time. The church locally and nationally has an important role to play in promoting truth and honesty in public life and in helping opposing sides to refrain from demonising the other and to seek instead the common good. One area of deep concern to the forum is that of recent UK government proposals concerning those looking for asylum. That legislation seems to fly in the face of the biblical injunction to welcome the stranger, and it also undermines the principles of the United Nations Refugee Convention, which happens to be 70 years old this year. We are glad, though, at last to welcome that as a matter of principle, the Church should not be investing in fossil fuels. This has been a long road, and as a forum, we are grateful to younger members of the Church in particular for continuing to bring the matter before succeeding General Assemblies. You have shown us how passionate you are when it comes to the climate and the absolute urgency of taking action now. The forum is also pleased to link up with our development agency, Christian Aid, and its Young Climate Activist programme. Get your skates on to keep this issue at the forefront of the Church's thoughts, especially as COP26 in Glasgow approaches. And with COP26 having a Scottish focus, we look forward not just to welcoming others, whether physically or virtually, but to involving congregations and thinking of ways that we can play our part in a more sustainable future that commits to caring for the world. The call for the Church to be net zero by 2030 is bold and not without its challenges. But the forum feels strongly that as a sign of our willingness to listen to the passionate voices of young people who care deeply about the effects of climate change, we have to push ourselves. An Ipsos Mori poll has found that while 84% of Scots are concerned about the climate, that figure rises to a staggering 96% of those aged between 16 and 24. For us as a church, the Tier Fund survey, which found that 9 in 10 young people worry about the climate, while only 1 in 10 feel that their church is doing enough. That report should come as a sobering wake-up call to us. We have to try harder. The forum's emphasis on a future that is green but is also just offers a creation-sensitive reframing of all we do as congregations and as a church and as a nation. It offers a 21st century response to the question, who is my neighbour? As it envisions a world in which respect and justice for all people, as well as for the planet, takes centre stage. This is not about building anything back. This is about taking this opportunity to recognise that the past was far from perfect, and it's about learning from that past in order to create a more positive and sustainable future for everyone, wherever in the world they are, as well as for the world itself. It is daunting, moderator, but it is exciting too that we as a church have a chance to play our part in seeking fullness of life for all, locally, nationally, and internationally. In closing, I want to give thanks for the faithful work of our mission partners and for all whom we partner in God's mission. I am especially grateful for a small but dedicated staff team who have gone way above and beyond over these last months. Particular thanks go to the senior management team under their interim head, Ian Alexander, who have brought an impossibly large remit together to help create a new and very different body. And I'm grateful too to the forum members who have caught the vision and run with it with energy, insight, enthusiasm, and wisdom. Very many thanks to you all. Moderator, I present the report of the Faith Impact Forum and move the deliverance.